thank you so much, Emily, for meeting with me today to talk about our partnership with the North Carolina Academy of Physician Assistants. As you know, we provided a comprehensive strategic planning process with your board and staff. So what motivated you to engage in this type of process?
So that's a great question. And I just want to say we loved working with you too. It was a really great process, but it was also a great outcome. So we, as a board, were operating under kind of an emergency strategic plan as we were coming out of the pandemic. And we knew we needed to be more planful and thoughtful and wanted to engage a strategic planning partner to help us walk through a process that helped us understand where we were now and look to see where we wanted to go. And so we wanted to do more than just talk to our board. We wanted to talk to a lot of external stakeholders. And so when you and I met and we talked about kind of what the plan would look like, it made complete sense.
So one thing that's important as a team, we want to see results, right? And we want to see tangible results because it's easy to facilitate a process and come up with a plan, but really having tangible outcomes is really important. So can you share a little bit about, maybe more about the process and engagement, but also outcomes and impact?
Sure, and that was something we shared, and that's what I was really looking for when we were trying to find a group to work with, because you're right, you can have this beautiful plan on paper, it reads beautifully, it sounds great, and yet it doesn't really take you to the next place. So we needed it to be actionable, measurable, and really impactful. So we worked on a process where we got stakeholder engagement. So we're a membership association, so we wanted to talk to our members. We have different members. We have student members, we have early career members, we have experienced members. We also have folks who chose not to be a member any longer. We wanted to get a sense from all those groups, where did they need our organization to go? And we designed a process that allowed us to do that. So that input really helped us kind of write a plan that had action steps. So the other thing you and I talked about that I think was the most helpful was having something that was kind of like a map, a guide, and then checkpoints and accountability standards. So we have a Excel sheet where we are tracking quarterly the progress on our report, and it is broken down into the goals and the objectives. So 3 highlights that I really feel like were pretty transformative were we focused on our marketing. We heard loud and clear when we had our retreat with our board and our staff that this was a place we could improve. And we have started measuring our impact and outcomes, and we can see real movement. And so that was a really big change. We also wanted to engage pre-PA students from underserved communities. So we established an HBCU pre-PA fair. And I'd invited you to join us for that because, you know, as a consultant, you get to be part of the planning, but you don't always get to see the results. And I really wanted you to have the opportunity to touch and feel what your work actually led and did. And this brought HBCU students from across North Carolina to come to our academy to learn from PAs of color about the PA profession. And it was transformative for the students who attended, but really for my members. And it's a second year, so that was a great example too.
I really enjoyed participating, you know, being there to witness just the type of engagement you have with students. And it was great hearing their questions. And also, this whole field is new to me, right? And so I learned so much about the field, and I'm anxious to take it on and share information with the young people that I know who are thinking about their career path. So it was wonderful to actually be there and witness what we had discussed during the strategic planning session, and the importance of diversity, reaching underserved communities, and really seeing that take place. So that was exciting. So why do you think our partnership works so well?
Well, I think, first of all, your approach was exactly what our organization needed. So I think I explained to you that we work with all PAs. They are diagnosticians. So they're going in, they're identifying the problem, and they're coming up with a solution. And your methodology really maps kind of how I think medical brains work. And so that part worked really well. But it was the relationship that you had with our steering committee and with me, so that it was, when we were continually kind of improving the process or changing it to meet the needs as we saw new opportunities, or really realizing that maybe what had worked in the past with our organization was going to have to look a little different. It culminated in a strategic planning retreat that you facilitated, which went so well. It was, and I don't know if you remember, it was right when the pandemic was we were emerging from our cocoons.
Right.
And so people hadn't been in the room together in a couple years, which can be challenging because these are folks who love each other and wanted to be together,
Right.
but we needed to do some work, and we got such incredible conversation going, but real actionable steps came out of that. And I think that helped. And then when we finalized the plan, it was a real partnership between the two of us to say, we heard so much. What can we actually do, and what needs to go on paper, and when do we need to start it? Because you were really clear that it can be overwhelming to have all of this. It's a 3-year plan, so you have to stage it. And so you helped me kind of think through the staging of that, and I appreciated that a lot.
And I think what I enjoyed the most during just the facilitation of the strategic planning retreat was the transparency, but also the passion and commitment as a board member, as a staff member. And so that really helped when we developed that quarterly plan. We also talked about who would be responsible for what. And
That's
so
right.
having some of that discussion during the retreat was very helpful as well. Starting to think about, these ideas sound great, but who's going to do it? Who's going to be responsible for it? So that was a great result or outcome of that process.
Can I add to that too? I just want to say, I think that's right. And it showed us that we needed to make sure we were spreading it appropriately across all the folks. And we created task force as a result that really, so another great example is we renovated our whole building. We created a building use task force to understand what we needed out of this building. And that was a direct result of that strategic planning. So, and we've changed the way we approach our advocacy. We've restructured our government affairs committee. Again, everything we've done too, we connect it back to that plan.
Sounds great. And I think also why the partnership worked so well was just our work styles. I think we're both pay attention to detail, probably, I won't say overanalyze, but we analyze processes. Also the flexibility that's there, like we may have shared, hey, this is the direction that we're going, but we have to shift in light of other things that are taking place. And so the level of flexibility there.
I would agree. And I would also say that it worked because it was very clear where you just have, I really appreciate the methodology and the approach that you have. I knew it when I saw it in the proposal, but it worked even better in person. So yeah, and I think we were both very communicative about when we knew things were kind of a little more challenging that we had to kind of address to keep us on. And we're working with volunteers, so there's a lot of opportunities to kind of redirect. And it was just, I can remember you and I sat in a room and we really drafted that plan together to bring to the board, and they liked it, and it really has worked for the organization.
And that's what I love too. It was a partnership. We bring best practices, but the work, who, your board members, who they are. And so again, the flexibility and that partnership of working together was just so effective. So what recommendations or insights can you share with other nonprofits based on our collaboration?
Right. I think you have to be really honest with yourselves about where you are and where you can go reasonably. I think a strategic planning process can really lead to some great dreaming, but then it has to be grounded in what do you have the resources and capacity to do. And so I think that is an important thing for every nonprofit to really grapple with, is what can we reasonably do within a 3-year time frame. Again, it's a place where you continue to say, is this achievable? I think having the buy-in of your board and making sure that whatever timeline you have is really going to work for your organization, and where you have other kind of commitments or responsibilities, it fits within there, and not trying to rush it. And making sure that you take the time, like the investment in time in the process will yield giant dividends and results later on in what you're able to accomplish. And I hear time and time again from our board how proud they are of the plan, but how they can really start to point to it to see where we have moved forward in our organization. So I think that those are the things, is the timeline, making sure you have the board commitment and staff commitment too, and that you make the space for it.
Those are great recommendations. So thank you so much, Emily, for your time. It truly was a joy for me to work with you, to work with your board, your staff, to meet external stakeholders. And we look forward to a continued partnership with NCAPA.
We feel the exact same way. So I really, it is so good to get to revisit this and tell the story, because, I'm really proud of the work we did.
Absolutely. Thank you, Emily.